Bullying and racism, a very important issue in our community, especially for immigrants like myself. When you come here, this is a foreign land. It's bad enough as it is being uprooted from the country where you were born and where you were raised. And then here you have to face these things. It's not just new environment, but there's also people that give you a hard time just for being different. And that shouldn't be the case. And so Gabriela is here joining us on the show. She wrote a book. This is the book With All My Might. And this talks about bullying and racism. And Gabriela actually is credible enough to write something like this because you yourself have been bullied.
I went through it because I got adopted from Pakistan to the Netherlands, which was far away back then.
Wow! From Pakistan to the Netherlands.
And talk about being different.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was blonde and blue-eyed.
Right.
And they pick on you because of your uniqueness.
Right.
And I think that one of the things that stood really central from the beginning is you can't change what you look like. Mm-hmm. You can't.
How old were you, and what was your earliest recollection of something as difficult?
I was
painful?
3 years old, and I remember starting to speak Dutch, which is a foreign language, obviously.
Yes.
And starting to speak Dutch, and literally from day one, children kind of said you say it funny, and
right.
the accent wasn't totally properly in the beginning.
Right.
But they didn't want to play with me because they had never seen someone so little brown, and then on top of it, I wore glasses.
Oh, okay,
yes.
Okay. And that, you know, it's not just you. It's not just being different. Sometimes you are just a target. And for a lot of these bullying issues, I myself was bullied in high school, and I grew up in the Philippines, so we all look the same, but I still got bullied, you know, and they just pick people, I think, that can be a target. And once you're targeted, that's it. Life is just hell.
But I think you're also targeted because the victim feels insecure. And so it is, I always say, if the victim could have this attitude change, that they're positive and that they are actually proud of their uniqueness. I was never proud of it because I wanted to be like that.
Right.
And I think that that's really, really important, that we actually understand that the victim wants to be like everyone else, because then you're not targeted.
And so because a lot of these bullying situations happen in school, the parents, the teachers play a big, big role. And yes, and so we're educating them now. What are the warning signs of children that are being bullied?
You'll never believe it. The first three for me are almost identical for the bully and the victim, which we never talk about. But low self-esteem is the first. Both the victim and the bully have it. The second thing is that they both don't want to go back to school.
So loss of interest.
Loss of interest. And they both act out, but they just do it differently.
Right.
The victim pulls into himself, so it becomes very isolated. And I think the bully isolates him or herself.
Okay.
Because, believe me, girls can be very, very nice.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I went to an all-girls school, and yes, I experienced that.
Because we say his, but I really don't mean to go for gender here. So the low self-esteem, the isolation, and the acting out. So I think that the victim, for example, has no more friends. And we don't want friends anymore because we're so embarrassed. We're actually really humiliated. And there's something new today that I didn't have, and that's called cyberbullying. It keeps going on. But there is, I learned while looking up the statistics that there's a new word that goes around, which is called Bullycide. So one of the statistics that I looked up for your show was that the suicides, and it's called Bullycide.
Bullycide.
The suicides that are happening is what makes this today an epidemic.
Right.
Meaning that the children that are being bullied are also being told to commit suicide, that they're not worthy of living.
Right, so it's more dangerous and deadlier than we think we know.
50% more suicides than 30 years ago. Can you imagine that? That's a lot.
So this becomes this is a very serious issue.
It is.
Is there an age range where parents need to really look at their kids and be involved with their kids at a certain age, because that's when a lot of the bullying happens?
Early. The earlier the better. But I know that it's troublesome because we all have two jobs.
Yes.
We have more than one child.
Filipinos, yes.
Yes, we have two jobs and we're struggling. So I understand that it's easy to kind of disconnect with the conversation with your children, but we have to watch much more, sit down with them, be with them together on Facebook, and really actively become, I call this being an active witness.
Is it better now, though, just to not have a Facebook account?
I think if they're too young, yes.
Is a disadvantage?
But they're going to have it anyway behind your back, so you might as well be aware.
Right.
I'm all for awareness and openness. If we could have that, it would be so much better. But one of the things that we don't do, and I really would like educators to step it up, is we're just punishing bullies.
Right, exactly. Let's first talk about the warning signs of a child who is a bully. You mentioned earlier the similarity, the first three ones that are similar with those that are being bullied: isolation, low self-esteem, acting out. I don't know about isolation because I know when I was being bullied when I was in high school, she surrounded herself with a lot of friends.
It looks like that, but at home she's totally isolated too. She or he doesn't really have friends. They were actually really isolated, and maybe because there's a problem.
And maybe not opening up to the parents as well.
Not opening up, and the acting out. Do you remember that child that we used to see? You know, when back to school you were proud, you went with your parents to buy all the new stuff.
Right.
And you would see that kid in the Walmart or in any store, right?
Yeah.
Having a tantrum to get that new bag.
Oh, okay.
To me, that's a bully.
That's a sign of
That's that child that already knows that if it behaves a certain way, it gets what it wants.
Aggressive behavior.
Aggressive behavior.
And this is good what you pointed out. We are not just supposed to punish the bullies because, like I said, you know, hurt people hurt people. It's the ones that are in pain that are usually the ones eager and ready to cause pain on other people too. So what do we do to bullies?
What do we do to bullies? Unfortunately, we only punish them. And I think, again, what I would love to see, but again, this is tough. I would love the school systems, instead of spending money on resources, is to spend money on coaches and psychologists to work together.
Counselors.
I think if you put a bully and a victim, I had this happen to myself, together in a room with someone else, you actually find out the other person's life.
Right, exactly.
And that changes the whole dynamic.
But until that happens, because now we're trying to change the school system, until that happens, it is the responsibility, I think, of the parents. And so that's the website on the screen. I know the book will be a lot of help. It's so easy. There are topics there that you can pick up, you know, a thing or two and talk to your kids about it. Maybe have your kids read it as well if they're old enough to understand. But for now, thank you so much and more power to you.
Thank you.
Entertainment news, when we return on the show, don't go away.